dozens upon dozens.
There were a lot of people in the area, perhaps more people could have been injured.
Well, obviously this was, goes without saying, this was more than one person being injured is a terrible thing. And there were a lot of people there, and there's a tremendous loss of life. I don't know how to define a lot, but it was, a congregation of people that were there as part of this daycare. And so it's just horrible. I don't know how else to describe it.
So that's the chief of the state police of Illinois, talking about how that 44-year-old Marianne Akers ran through a daycare in Chatham, Illinois, killing 4 girls.
Yes, sir.
Director, to follow up on that, do you know approximately how many people were?
Off the top of my head, I don't, but we can get that information for you and give you a sense of how many people may have been there. Yes?
Can you explain why her name was released, given the sensitive nature of what happened and the possibility of retaliation against her?
Sure. So that name was already out there in open sources. So confirming it was not providing any information other than what was already had been made available. So.
Is it unusual for someone not to be charged in a situation like this, or can you describe it?
I don't know what unusual means, but this is.
What are you talking? Let me rewind that, guys. I'm sorry.
Than what was already had been made available. So.
Is it unusual for someone not to be charged in a situation like this, or can you describe it?
I got to hear that again, please, sir.
So he's remarkable. This is Novesity. Check him out. He's the one that's bringing some attention to this. The question was, isn't it unusual to not charge the person that just killed 4 fucking girls? Okay, I'm going to give you some of the details of this case. Here's the building, right? So she drove through the building. She didn't drive through like the parking lot or the playground area. It wasn't like, some open space in the back where they were playing. No, she drove right through the damn building. And that's actually even more remarkable when you hear the details. I guess here's the front of the building with boarded up with some ply boards that's built up. And then here's the back of the building. So she didn't just hit the building, she went into the building and then came out of the building driving an SUV. And then here are the victims. So you have 2 7-year-old girls and an 8-year-old girl and an 18-year-old girl. So this is Riley Britton. So RIP to Riley Britton, 18-year-old. Here's 7-year-old Alma Bunner-Kempe. So she's a soccer player. Let's take a look at the culprit, okay? So here is Marianne Akers, okay? So, and this is the only picture of Marianne Akers, which is even more incredible. I'm going to get to the details, but this is infuriating because when this just happened in Vancouver, and they said that guy went through a seizure or had a heart attack or some sort of medical emergency. How fucking convenient. You just had 2 goddamn SUVs drive through a bunch of fucking people died, and both of them turned out to be medical emergencies, huh? They're saying some evidence makes it look like it was a medical emergency, but they're not concluding that yet. But they are saying that it wasn't a targeted attack and it wasn't terrorism. I don't know. I'm going to prepare for the worst. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. This is Catherine Suzanne Corley, and they named her Kit Kat, or her nickname was Kit Kat. So this is another one of the victims. This is Alma Lee Bunner-Kempe. We just saw her, the soccer player. And then here is Ainsley Grace Johnson. And then here is Riley. So Riley Danae Britton, right? Okay. And so let's get through the details of this. All right, this is Marianne. All right, so do we want the picture on Marianne? Yeah, okay, she's the one that did it, right? Marianne Akers was the lone driver. So far, she's been cooperative. She was not injured. She was a lone driver driving an SUV. The SUV which killed 4 people, 3 kids and an 18-year-old. So just, barely an adult. Basically 4 kids. She wasn't drunk, no DUI. They did a toxicology. They did a blood and urine test. But they came up negative, and it came up negative for a bunch of things: cocaine, marijuana, alcohol, a bunch of benzos, some other, pills and shit. So nothing. Not drunk, not a DUI. She wasn't under the influence. They're suggesting a medical emergency. I'd already kind of thought about this stuff with Vancouver, and there's only 2 excuses that I could sort of live with, even though it didn't sit well with me at the time, even when I heard it, because a seizure or a heart attack, even if you had a seizure or went through a heart attack, do you stiffen up? Do you hit on the gas? And then do you drive in a straight line? She drove through the daycare. This happened in Chatham, Illinois, the land of Lincoln, which is the same county where Sonia Massey was murdered. Marianne Akers. There is security footage of Marianne Akers, this 44-year-old, I guess, American, Illinois. I think she was local. She went to the local high school. And not only was she went to the local high school, so she's well known in Chatham, Illinois. She was also a former employee with the Illinois State Police. She was an office associate from 2006 to 2018. I wonder why she quit, or if she was let go 7 years ago. But for 12 years she worked with the Illinois State Police. Right now she works as an office assistant at the Illinois Department of Transportation from 2023 to 2025. I heard she had worked in the food service industry of a school a couple years ago. And I wonder if it was this school. She worked at the food service industry. So let's talk about the attack. Okay, so ultimately they didn't arrest her, no charges, not in custody. She didn't have to get arrested, no handcuffs, get the perp walk, sit in jail for a day or 2, post a bail bond. And did you put an ankle monitor on her at least? At least put an ankle monitor. Make sure there's no flight risk. And then there's Robert Thrash, when he got arrested because they charged him with murder. They made sure the bail bond was $750,000 because of the nature of the charges that made him a possible danger to the community. So no charges, not in custody, didn't have to post a bail bond, didn't have any handcuffs put on her. So here's the details of the crash, of what we know so far. They said that there's a black box and there's supposed to be more information. They don't want to interfere with the integrity of the investigation. This happened a day or 2 days ago. Okay, so she's driving on a road, and then she drives through a farm field, okay, at a high rate of speed. So is she driving 70 miles an hour? So she's driving on a road, drives through a farm field, high rate of speed. He said he wouldn't share the miles per hour. Not only did she drive off the road through a farm field, but then she's going to cross a road and then cross a sidewalk and then drive through a parking lot. And actually, we got a picture right here of the tracks. Not only was it a farm field, but it looked like it just been plowed. So she drove through this right here, and then right there is where the crash had happened. I think these would be her tracks, wouldn't it? I mean, it'd be kind of crazy if other people are driving through these tracks. This is a crime scene at this point. So she's driving here. And then they said that she had crossed a road sidewalks, ran into a parking lot, and then crashed into it. So I guess there's a street there and a sidewalk and I guess just some parking lot. The farm field, so she drove a substantial distance. She drove a substantial distance. I'm calling bullshit. This looks like a terrorist attack. This looks like a deliberate terrorist attack. What could cause somebody to do something like this if they're not drunk? Well, she snapped, right? She's pissed off. She's brokenhearted. She lost her job. Somebody said something to her she didn't like. She's taking it out on the world. She's driving crazy because she just broke up with her man and lost her home, lost her job. They said that she still works with the Illinois Department of Transportation. Then they're like, the police were consoling her, and then the DOT were saying that all members of our family are grieving right now. They also said that when she drove through the field and crashed into the daycare center and drove through the building, right, went from the east side out the west side, that it didn't look like she made any attempt to alter its direction. So this looks like it turns here, but then it turns that way. So driving into the field and then turning that way, I'm not sure if these are the actual tracks or not. But it says it didn't look like she tried to turn into a different direction. So she's just driving, and to hell with it. And then right there it says, right, the city of Chatham. You got a big water tower. Huge water tower right here. It's got the name Chatham. So my guess is she knows, since she's from this area, what this building is, who's in this building, what's this building, it's filled with kids. They said there was a bunch of people that was in the building at the time. Not only were there 4 kids that were murdered, but 6 other kids were injured, including one who is critically injured. So there could be another death. We're not for sure if the critically injured kid will live. The guy does seem way too tight-lipped. He's not going to share the miles per hour. And just in that tiny clip that we saw, he didn't know the definition of a lot. I don't know what a lot is to you. I don't know, 20, 30, 40? How many goddamn kids are in the fucking building? Why don't you tell us? And then we'll determine if it's a lot or not. And isn't it unusual not to arrest the person? Novacity pointed out that there was a guy in, I think it was Colorado. Yeah, he got charged in Colorado. So a truck driver who had a malfunctioned, and he's driving, through a bunch of people, and a bunch of people got killed, and then he had like 110 years prison sentence. He was supposed to serve 110 prison years, and then eventually the governor intervened and reduced it down to 20 years or something. There's another incident where and he said it was the same thing, right? No DUI, no drugs in their system, and the one was a total accident. The brake had broke. So let me make sure I got through all of these facts. See, she crossed a gravel road. So once she goes into the building, comes out of the building, crosses this gravel road, and then crashes into a pole and a fence. So I guess that stopped her. Going through a building, running over a couple kids, hitting one wall, hitting another wall, and then eventually hitting a fence. Like, holy fucking shit. And then what saved her? Did she have her goddamn seatbelt on? Did she have her airbag deploy? That's incredible that she lived through all that, frankly. But she's definitely guilty of vehicular manslaughter. Now, when it comes to first degree, second degree, third degree, is it negligent homicide? I'm not sure what the charges are in Illinois. But they're seeming to say that the intent, we don't know if she had the intent. Children are innocent. Children are innocent. As much as you want to say she's a person too, Okay, but she's lived, let's add all the years together. 18 plus 7 plus 7 plus 8 gets you what? So it's 15, 22, 22 plus 18. Even if you added all the years of the kids, that adds up to 20. No, it adds up to 40. Okay, so that means she's lived 4 more years more than all 4 of those kids who were killed. Let me say that again, because 18 plus 8 plus 7 plus 7 equals 40. She's 44 years of age. So she got to live 4 more years, longer than all those kids. She's had a life. She is not innocent. She's had arguments. I'm sure she's had relationships. And even if we give her the most, charity. Oh, okay. You're going through a seizure. You're driving, you're on the interstate, you hit a seizure, and you're just shaking, so you're just out of your mind, just shaking, you're gripping the steering wheel tight, you're just shaking, you don't realize what's going on, you're stiff-legged, and you just drive straight, and you just keep going through a seizure, keep going through a seizure. There is some questions about why were you driving? How many times do you go through seizures like that? And do you never come to? I mean, I've never gone through a seizure. I've passed out once before. But if you're I've seen somebody going through a seizure and they did not seem like they were there. They seemed like their brain or something, their body something took over them. But it took like a minute, and then eventually, it was over. I would say less than a minute, maybe, 20 seconds or something. But so I think that's all the details that I have. And then ultimately, how often does this shit happen? With the Vancouver thing, I'm like, okay, when it comes to shit happens, okay, I'll give shit happens to 5% of the events. 5% of all the things that happen in the world. 1 out of 20 times. Shit happens. And as much as you want to try to prevent it, and as much as you want to blame somebody and pass this law or pass that law, shit does happen. Shit does happen. But to think that the thing in Vancouver just happened and did this shit happen in Illinois back to back like the way that it did, and then both of I've never heard of actually somebody going through a seizure while driving or having a heart attack while driving and then plowing through a whole bunch of people. I've never heard of that. I'm sure it's happened. I mean, there's 340 million of us or so. So I'm sure that's happened somewhere in the world. But it's not a common occurrence. That is not a thing that happens, all the time. Let's go back to Novacity and listen to what this guy's saying.
Whoever is that guy talking right here, he's right there. He is saying the same thing that everyone here is saying. Please say that again. Please say it again.
The information other than what was already had been made available. So.
Unusual for someone not to be charged in a situation like this, or can you describe it?
Isn't it unusual for someone not to be charged like this? And he says something, and I missed it.
Yeah, that's right.
Sir, I'm so glad you noticed that. You're a reporter, probably of many years. But whoever this guy is, he is gaslighting you, saying that, many of other people. That's not true. Not true at all. Not true at all. It's funny how, it's so crazy that there are people defending this lady right now. And then they're using the words, she probably had seizures. Don't you go based on fact? The fact is she drove her car straight into there. Right? The lines are straight. Nothing about seizures. Nothing. And even if she did, she's not supposed to be driving. Point, straight out, flat. That's it. Okay? Flat. Flat.
I don't know.
You can tell that this guy doesn't want to answer questions. After he read like all the facts, he like took a deep breath, or he kind of hesitated. He paused for way too long. All right. Any questions? You know, it's all vanity, right? I mean, this is, you get to do a press conference, right? I mean, my God, look at all the attention this guy is getting. So I don't know. There's definitely a conflict of interest. She was working with the Illinois State Police, you know, for 12 years. So I don't understand the conflict of interest. I don't understand why they haven't arrested her. Just to be on the safe side, you know. I mean, there's 4 dead bodies, so is it a possibility that a crime has occurred? Is there a probable cause? Because you're not allowed to arrest anybody without probable cause. You could do like warrantless arrest. You know, if you have to go get a warrant, you know, I don't think you have to go to the grand jury and get the indictment first. I think you can do a warrantless arrest, and you know, I don't know who would object to anything like that except for her and her family and her, you know, people, whoever she's around. But if she was going through seizures, that would be something that would be known, right? Wouldn't that be known? She went to the hospital, so if there's some evidence that there's a medical emergency, why wouldn't that be told? Why wouldn't that be said? Because that's almost like we need to know that immediately. You just fucking ran through a fucking daycare and you just killed 4 kids, you motherfucker. Okay, you had seizures. Thank you. Okay, good. All right, good. That at least, you know, gives us some fucking reason of why there's been no arrest or custody. But they're like, we don't. There's some evidence that there might be some sort of medical emergency.
Know what unusual means.
He knows what it means. He's this guy is not good, bro.
But this
unusual.
is
I've never heard that word before in my life.
Every tragedy, every investigation has different nuances. But what's important about what the Illinois State Police do is that we follow the facts no matter where they take us. Do not reach any conclusion before we've done a proper investigation. There's obviously high emotion in something like this. And we have people that are impacted by this. We're part of this community. But the Illinois State Police, our view and what integrity is to relentlessly pursue those facts no matter where they take us. So that's the way we're handling this case, as we do all cases. And
I'll just say this in his defense. There is inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning. So one is you come up with a conclusion and then you fit the facts into the conclusion. The other one is you gather all the information, all the facts, as much information as you possibly can get, and then you see what that story says. Then you get after you get all the information that's fit to print, then you see where that leads you, what conclusion that leads to, okay? I think you can make a conclusion after like maybe 5 days, 10 days, on the weekend, just every, Friday, just kind of say, okay, here's what it looks like so far. Because there's also first impressions, there's guts, and then there's game theory. I mean, there's only so many options, right? Okay, she wasn't drunk, she wasn't high, even, that doesn't really give you a good excuse, but, is she suicidal? Is she homicidal? So there's 2 possibilities: suicidal, homicidal, and then maybe a heart attack and maybe a seizure. So there's 4 options right there. Maybe she was suicidal, maybe she was homicidal, maybe she was going through a seizure, or maybe she had a heart attack. There's your 4 fucking choices. And then on Friday, tell us which one do you think, it's more likely being. Which one of those 4 horses is, in front.